Then someone raises another point of order, which he also takes, and this person actually has used the point of order but is now really raising some debate, because the person says, well, what I want is the delegation that we're considering seating. I know the Credentials Committee said no. I would like to hear all the details of the case, of why the Credentials Committee said that before I vote. So the chair points out that this was only permitted 3 minutes on the agenda, and that 3 minutes has expired. And someone asks, well, could I make a motion to extend debate? Chair says, yes, you could, but be sure to say in it how long you want the debate to be extended. Yet another point at which we see the chair being sensible, and as Robert says, the chair should help the delegates, help the members at every juncture. The chair is doing that by saying, let's, your motion should include it. So he takes the vote and he says, this is going to take 2/3, and as we know, we look at our chart, limit or extend limits of debate, 2/3 vote. He says that. So he takes the 2/3 vote to extend debate, and the motion fails. People don't want to talk about it. So then someone makes another point of order, which turns out not to be a point of order, but a motion. And the motion that he says is he wants to refer this back to the Credentials Committee for further consideration. The question is not whether or not that's a good motion. In fact, that is a very sensible motion. But the fact is, the time has already expired, and they have voted not to extend debate, and they have voted to close debate. And so the chair really is in a position, no matter what he thinks, he really has to say, you didn't extend debate, you voted to close debate, we really cannot take any more discussion. Then a person takes a point of order and says, I request a count on that 2/3 vote on closing debate. Now, what is it that he's calling for? Isn't this your favorite thing, Renee?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember which one it was.
Division.
Division.
So this on the back, the 6th one down is division of the assembly. That's when you don't agree with the vote and you want the vote retaken by another matter. But here's the problem. Since that vote was taken, we've had the point of order about the delegates being seated, can't vote. We've had the point of order where he wants to rehear the case. We've had the discussion about the 3 minutes. We've had the motion to extend debate, which fails. The motion to, now we've come to the motion to refer to the Credentials Committee, which he said was not allowed, and now he wants to retake the vote. When do you have to call division?
Immediately.
Immediately. So it's much too late now to, and he says to the person, I'm sorry, but that request has come in much too late. There's too much business that have intervened. And then the person says, well, I'd like to make a motion to take a standing counted vote. And that's the end of the tape.
So we don't know what happened.
What happened? So we don't know what happened.
Can that be done?
Well, at this juncture, yes, the request for the count was too late, the division, to call division, but it was not too late to have said, I'd like to make motions related to voting. I make a motion to count the vote. For a standing vote. And he would have to do that, because if he'd called for division, it would have been automatic at that juncture. But now it's so late that he would have to make a motion to have a standing counted vote. And remember, the call for division would have only gotten a standing vote. It would not have been counted. So, but I thought that was a very interesting one, where both And see, people knew though to make all those motions, and the chair knew to deal with all those motions. So it was actually, I wanted it to last longer because it was going so interestingly. Did that raise any, part of that raise any questions in your mind? It was all fast, wouldn't you agree, Larry?
Yeah.
So the advantage goes to people who have not a lot, you don't have to know more than what's on this brown sheet, but certainly people who have some working knowledge of what things are called. For example, in the first one, where the people just kept yelling point of order, and the chair offered, would you like to appeal? They should have said, yeah. And they would have had an opportunity to debate. The thing that was of interest is that these points of order were allowed to interrupt what was going on. As Roberts says, there was no restriction on that, so that they were doing the right thing at the right time.
My take on it was that it wasn't just creating chaos with multiple people yelling point of order, probably distracted from actually getting the point recognized. So you had 25 people standing there yelling, that chaos ensued really. Whereas I think if they'd had one person strongly stand up, demand it to be recognized, that would have probably worked better. Well, it didn't work for them at all. So.
Right, and that certainly did work for the fellow who kept making his point, standing there making his point and taking the vote to vacate the chair. I mean, and the rest of the group was comfortable letting him move on. In the third one, in the Washington one, a woman goes to the microphone and says, I had to come to this microphone because you wouldn't recognize me at the other microphone. You recall when she said that? And the chair replies, that's because you weren't recognized. The microphone doesn't get turned on until you get recognized, which is another way in terms of what you're saying, which is just one person making the point, but also to have all microphones covered. So whichever microphone gets called on, the point that you want to make can be made from that microphone. So it does take organization. They didn't do any motions that we hadn't talked about. So that was an indication that there really aren't more motions than this. This is really covers the waterfront.